at least 6 toast. Welcome, fellow Toastmasters and guests. This meeting of online presenters, Toastmasters, has now begun. Guests, please note that in order to be a member of our club, you must be a current or former active member of Toastmasters International and completed at least 6 Toastmasters official speeches or demonstrate your abilities in a 2 to 3 minute speech delivered during one of our club members. And please know that your membership is subject to approval by our club members. Now, woo. Oh, we'll go here. Always have a backup plan. If you have not already done so, please change your panel to ensure it displays your name and role. Hover over your video, right click, and select Rename to do so. We have members and guests from many countries throughout the world. As a professional organization, we ask that you please be aware of language or word usage that may be considered offensive or otherwise insensitive due to cultural differences. Please note that we will be recording the meeting. Your video and your audio contribution may be used for club marketing purposes. Please, if you are not talking, make sure that you are on mute. And today is a special day because we are having an online contest. Please help me welcome our contest master, Graham Cairns. Please help me welcome him to the virtual stage.
Hey everybody, and welcome along to this webinar contest. Now, this is a contest which is not an official contest. It is not a Toastmasters official contest. We have to say that up front, but we really think that it picks the eyes out of the best of what online presenters does. This club, as has been mentioned in the pre-recording, is all about learning how to use the skills required to present online. And one of those skills which is a great benefit to online presentation is the presentation of webinars. And so we hold a competition which has become so successful, we're actually having to hold it in 3 separate tranches this year to make sure that everybody gets an opportunity where we present webinars. They're mini webinars, obviously, because many webinars run 30 minutes or 60 minutes. You're given 7. That is 5, 6, and 7 minutes will be the indications given to all contestants. On the subject of timing, our timekeeper for tonight, we have 2, but the official timekeeper is in the top left-hand corner of your screen. That's Carolina, who is going to wave to us in a moment just so that we can all see that she is listening to us. Wave, Carolina. Yay, there's Carolina. Now, Carolina will, at 5 minutes, indicate that your 5 minutes is up by giving you a green card behind her. Then there will be one at 6 minutes, which is a yellow card. And then at 7 minutes, there will be a red card. I should tell contestants that, like all competitions, you get a 30-second grace period. So your presentation is supposed to go from 5 to 7 minutes, but we will give you 30 seconds of grace. If you go beyond that 30 seconds, then you will be disqualified and you will not be able to win the prestigious virtual trophy, which will be presented later in the meeting. We have drawn the speaking order, and I'll go through that shortly. But before I get to that, I'll ask the Chief Judge, are there any other things that you wish contestants or the audience to know?
Just that this is an unofficial contest partly because we made up our own scoring criteria. We made up our own scoring criteria because giving a speech or a presentation online is different than giving it on stage. And one of the things that we're challenging our contestants to show is that they can grab the audience members by the lapel and get their attention and create engagement for them, despite the fact that they are hundreds or thousands of miles away. And so how they do that is up to them. They have license to use any digital razzle-dazzle that they might like. It doesn't mean that the person with the best PowerPoint wins. It can be a matter of stage presence and just engagement with the audience in other techniques. And ultimately, we do want it to be a good, strong presentation that makes a point expresses its message clearly. There is something in the point system also for having a call to action at the end, because that's how a webinar usually concludes. So we've come up with a format of criteria. We'll try and stick to it as fairly as possible. We will fall back on the Toastmasters International Rulebook rules. If anybody wants to file a challenge or something, we'll follow the rules according to that. By the way, our judges are actually not anonymous. That's why I didn't make a big deal about being secret about it when I hushed them off to a breakout room. In a lot of club contests, the anonymity of judges is kind of a fiction anyways. But here we're actually going to invite them to maybe give you a little bit of verbal feedback at the end to let you know what they thought of your presentations, or well, we will have to keep some of that brief so that this contest doesn't go on all night and into the morning. But with that, unless there are questions, I think people have been briefed adequately, and we should move on with our contest.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Judge. So, Mr. Chief Judge, are we ready? I should do the official, are we ready? And David can stick his thumb up and say, yes, we are. He's sticking his thumb up and saying, yes, we are. So let the contest begin. We have 6 contestants here today, and I'll just announce the speaking order, which has been drawn apparently at random. I don't know. I wasn't a party to the drawing, but that's okay. The speaking order is speaker number 1 will be Kay Allison. Speaker number 2 will be John Lau. Speaker number 3, Chandra Yusuf. Speaker 4, Joni-Renee Laidlaw. Speaker 5, Jerry Aiyathurai. And Speaker 6, Traca Savadogo. So that will be the speaking order. I will introduce each contestant with the traditional Toastmasters competition introductory process. That is, I will say the speaker's name and the title of their presentation, the title of their presentation, and then their name. Normally, I would say please don't applaud after the first introduction of their title, but given that we can't hear you applaud anyway, you can continue to wave wildly if you like. It won't make a great deal of difference.
Graham, can I interrupt for one thing that I didn't explain?
Good idea.
We do have, because we said we wanted the speakers to create engagement with the audience, we do have Jim Barber appointed as our chat monitor. And so if one of the ways you want to create engagement with your audience is to invite people to ask questions, or you want to ask questions and they should enter something into the chat, Jim can assist you in monitoring the chat and relaying questions to you. It's entirely up to you. You don't have to use him, but he is there as a resource if that would be helpful.
Thank you, David. Also, on the subject of changes to the normal operations, as I mentioned, our lights will be at 5, 6, and 7, unless, as a contestant, you specifically want it to be different. Perhaps you want to get an indication that you've got 3 minutes left and you're going to ask questions. If you do, you need to let me know before you speak, because otherwise we've got no idea what to tell the timekeeper. So, unless there are any changes, let's get underway. So, as I say, the process will be, I will introduce each speaker and the title of their presentation. I will then repeat the title of their presentation and then their name. They can begin. Timing begins from the first utterance. We have tested all contestants' microphones. We know they are all working. Contestants, please remember to turn your microphones on while I am doing your introduction so that that works. Are we ready, contestants? Are there any questions from the audience? In that case, let the contest begin. And our first contestant today, ladies and gentlemen, Toastmasters and friends, please allow me to introduce Kay Allison with From Resistance to Rewards. From Resistance to Rewards, Kay Allison.
Earlier this summer, across a span of only 6 weeks, I got somewhat famous. I attracted wildly accomplished clients, and I made $61,000 from the least likely of places. TikTok, right? TikTok, not LinkedIn, TikTok. Now, it is not lost on me, my friends, that the specter of a white-haired, makeup-free business coach getting traction on TikTok is unlikely, kind of strange, and shocking. The most shocking part of it to me was that the whole thing happened. I had a business coach who had been imploring me to get on TikTok, and I was utterly resistant. I mean, my people are on LinkedIn. I've been a business consultant of Fortune 200 firms, helping them make $2 billion in new revenue. Those people aren't on TikTok. I mean, TikTok's a bunch of little girls lip syncing and dancing, isn't it? Well, what surprised me is, yes, I've got the interior designer and the tarot card reader, but I also have a former VP of global marketing for one of the world's largest tech companies, a woman who has created and hosted a multi-season show on PBS, and the gentleman who founded what is now $1 billion multinational brand who's wondering, what's next? So I want you to write in the chat the letter of what surprises you the most about this information. A, that an old lady like me got noticed on TikTok, right? A in the chat if it's that. B, if it's the fact that I made $61,000 off of TikTok in 6 weeks. Or C, if what you're really astounded by is the quality of the people that I was able to find on TikTok. A, B, or C. Okay, we've got a couple B's here. Who else? It's all about the money. I love that. All of it's surprising. Yes, Andrea, I totally agree with you. I was shocked by this whole thing. What I want to do today is to teach you how to make a TikTok video that succeeds. I'm not talking about it going viral, although I do have a client who, following my instructions, did go viral, was discovered by the Obama's production company, and is now in negotiations for him to host a podcast for them. It's kind of astounding what can happen on TikTok. And so instead of describing the 5 parts of an effective TikTok video, I'm going to make one right here, right now. I'm in my account, which is K_company_creativity. And I'm going to unpack what I'm doing while I'm doing it. So here, I'm going to start. And I use a tripod because my hands shake. I've got a tremor. So here, I'm going to start. I made $6 million by changing my focus in this one simple yet profound way. Okay, I did 2 things there. One, I caught their attention. Did you notice I moved my hair? Any kind of movement stops the scroll. If you're just a static head talking at somebody, they're scrolling right by you. I also said I made $6 million, and that gets people's attention. So that's the first thing I did, was to get attention. The second thing I did was to have a hook, a tease of the information that's coming next, to get them to pay attention through this next section. Now I'm going to introduce myself in a very casual way. Hey, if you're new here, my name's Kay, and I help creative people make a lot of money. I say it, I don't use business speak. I don't use big, empty words. I actually talk the way human beings talk. And now I'm going to tell them exactly what I want them to do. One thing only. So if you want to know how to unlock your creativity's full value, please click the link in my bio and let's set up a time to talk. Told them one thing to do, and now I've got to deliver the meat of my message. And it has to be something that they don't already know. So this is what I'm going to say in this video. When my focus was on my passion and my potential, I didn't get the business opportunities, nor did I get the financial rewards that I wanted. And you see how I'm like switching angles? I'm doing this on purpose to keep people from watching, to keep people watching. But when I put my clients' concerns, what they cared about, their problems, what wasn't working for them, when I put that in the center and used my creativity to be helpful, all of a sudden I made so much money and was invaluable to Fortune 200 companies. And now I'm going to wrap it up. And so if you're feeling undervalued, I beg you to pay attention to your client's problems rather than your passion. And after this competition, I'll add some captions and I'll post it and we'll be done. I have a 20-minute tutorial that I would love to share with you. If you're interested in receiving it, please drop your email address in a private chat to me and I'd be happy to send it to you. Look, TikTok is not just for kids anymore. It is a really powerful business tool, and I implore you to experiment and give it a try.
Thank you, Kay. Thank you for that. We'll now give the judges 60 seconds to deliberate. So I could give you thinking music, but this is not Jeopardy. We'll just have silence for 60 seconds. Keep an eye on the chat, though, because in the chat, there will almost certainly be a request for a plug from, or a request for membership or something from Andre. Well, make him do some work while this is happening. 60 seconds for the judges, please. I believe that's 60 seconds. So let's move on to contestant number 2. Contestant number 2, John Lau, My Olympics. My Olympics, John Lau.
Thank you, Graham. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters. A lot of us, especially athletes, they want to compete in the Olympics, celebrating human success. But I, being a Toastmaster, I believe in what Ralph Smedley said. He said, the past prepare us to meet the challenges of the future. 13 years ago, the crime rate in Sarawak, where I am living, was very high, 657.8. That was the crime rate. The safety rate was 38.5%. My intention and my belief at that time was how to reduce that crime rate so that Kuching or Sarawak will be a better place to live in. And as Albert Einstein said, only a life lived for others is a life worthwhile. So we started in a journey, embarked to work with the police, fostering cooperation and friendship with the police and also the community. We practice inclusivity and share humanity. We have meetings everywhere, in every home, talking then about safety and security. Lock the door when you leave the house. Tell your neighbor that you are going for vacation. For how long? So that the neighbor will look after your house. During the process, we brought crime victims to the police station to make police report. And in the process of meeting the community, we were interviewed by Television Malaysia and also the newspaper. So community policing is being defined, working with the community in crime reduction. Community as an eye, ear, and a mouthpiece for the police. If there is a stranger that appears in the neighborhood, we call the police or call the community policing unit in the neighborhood. And when police came, the stranger was gone. So giving talks in school to the children is always good to start young, talking to the children, and going out with the police to meet with the community, distributing crime prevention leaflet. Because what Dr. Ralph Smedley said, understanding comes through communication. And through communication, we find a way to peace. Of course, we have 17,500 members where it started off with only 2, and then 440, it grew. We recognize outstanding member. We asked the Commissioner of Police from Kuala Lumpur to come down to Kuching, Malaysia, to present certificate of recognition to my team member. And you know what? Because of this effort, the crime rate dropped. In 2010, it was 657.81. To 2019, it was only 201. And 2020, because of the Movement Control Center, it was 20.5. And now in 2023, the last reported crime from the Department of Statistics, it was 45.1 out of 100,000 people. And the safety rate has improved from 38 to 95.1%. My fellow Toastmasters, our effort pay off. As what Dr. Ralph Smedley said, we need to communicate so that we understand each other. Because of this, the pinnacle of my community service was the award of this Commander Medal from the King of Malaysia. In Malaysia, it carries the title Datuk, D-A-T-U-K, and in England, it is called Sir. My fellow Toastmasters, you and I can play an important role to build safety in the community. Let us utilize our communication skill, our body language, our facial expression, our vocal, to understand the problem in the community. We need to keep shining. We need to light up more candles so the candles will be lighted and make this world a better place. If Sarawak can do it, I think people in Nigeria can do it too. And people in Mongolia can do it too. Why? Because we just need to be a Toastmaster to learn the effective communication skill. Then we can understand the community better. Help each and every one, as I used to advocate, love your neighbor. If your neighbor is not at home, look after their property. My fellow Toastmaster, the world needs your light. And be the light of this world. Shine as a Toastmaster to communicate, to lead, so that this community will be a much better place and this world will be a more peaceful place. Over to you, Toastmaster of the evening.
Thank you, John. Or should that be Sir John? John Lau with that presentation. Again, 1 minute for the judges to do their deliberations. Feel free to chat in the chat now while that's happening. That's the 1 minute. So we'll now move on to contestant number 3, Chandra Yusuf. Face it, feel it, and go on living with it. Face it, feel it, and go on living with it, Chandra Yusuf.
There any one of you in this room who has never felt fear in your life? Raise your hands. Thank you very much. I suffered a lot from this kind of fear. One day, I joined a club. I don't know what club it's that, but everybody was clapping their hands every time people speak. And there is a moment when a session called Table Topics. I was sitting behind and I was trembling. I told myself, please, not me. I'm afraid to speak in front of them. But suddenly, the people in front called my name. And I had to stand in front of the public. And I did nothing. I didn't speak even a word. And 2 minutes is gone. And everybody was clapping their hands. I was so sad. I said, why do they clap in this moment? I didn't say a word. And then one of the mentors said, Yusuf, if you want to be able to speak, join the Toastmasters Club. You face it, you feel it, and you go on living with it. Ladies and gentlemen, let me share with you my other story. One day, I went to New Zealand. I tried to climb the hill. It was so steepy and dangerous, but I tried. It was really hard, but I told myself, I must face it. I must feel it. So I keep on climbing until almost half of the climb. I stayed for a while and I look, so many people are going down. They said, no way. I don't want to go on. It's so dangerous. There is no way back. If now you don't go back, you will be stuck there. my heart began trembling. Should I continue climbing, or should I go back with those people? But again, my heart said, Yusuf, you said you want to defeat your fear. Why you go back? Keep on climbing. Try, face it, feel it. So, ladies and gentlemen, I continued climbing. And I saw from very far behind, above us, the young people were all chattering with each other, having lots of fun. And they jumped into the water, into the blue sea water of New Zealand. I said, no, oh my God, should I climb? Should I fall down to the water? No, it's so dangerous. I can't face it. But I couldn't go back. And my heart said, you tried, face it, feel it, how you feel it, and go on doing that. I was really trembling. I had a conversation with my heart. Should I do it or I shouldn't? Then I realized if I want to defeat my fear, I had to face it. So, ladies and gentlemen, I was standing there and I was counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I jumped into the water. Oh my God, I did it. I nailed it. I nailed it. I am so proud of myself. I could defeat my own fear. Now I could do it. Ladies and gentlemen, don't run away from your problem. You got to face the problem. You feel it and you go on living with it. If you are afraid of speaking in front of public, like what I was, join the club. Train yourself. You will face the problems all the way long and you will feel it. Look at me now. After 15 years, I am able to speak confidently. If I can do it, why not you? Join the Toastmasters. You will be able to face the fear and feel the fear and go on living with it. Back to contestant.
Thank you, Yusuf. Thank you for that presentation today. Once again, can we have 1 minute silence for the judges to do their deliberation things? That's 1 minute. So we'll now move on to contestant number 4, Joni-Renee Laidlaw. Bling on a budget. Bling on a budget, Joni-Renee Laidlaw.
Hey, Macklemore, can we go thrift shopping?
What?
Contest Master, my fellow Toastmasters and our guests. Have you ever heard of the term thrifting? Now, I want you to put a 1 in the chat if you have, or 2 if this is your first time hearing that phrase. Oh, I see some 1s and a less than 3. I love that. I'm going to assume that means 2. I also see that our timer, it's your first time. Well, guess what? I'm here to explain to you how that works and how today we're going to bling on a budget.
I'm gonna pop some tags. Only got $20 in my pocket.
I'm looking for a color. I mean, that's awesome. And that's why we bling on a budget. Now, before I go any further as it relates to thrifting, it's usually associated nowadays, harsh economic times, you see. It's always important to save money anywhere you can with clothing as well as other items that we get at a discounted rate. How does that apply to the online space? Why would we want to bling on a budget here? Here's my next question for everyone involved. I need a 1 in the chat. If whenever it breaks, you throw it away, toss it, get a new one. There's a new one every year. Or you're like me, you do refurbish, fix, or repair. And Jim, I'm going to ask you, just let me know which one you see winning. I'm keeping my fingers crossed that it's going to be number 2. Chat monitor Jim, who's winning?
It is overwhelmingly number 2.
Excellent. I have found my people. Now, we have a phrase in Jamaica that says, when a dead, no dash way. Don't worry. I'm here to teach you patois for those who don't know. If it's not dead, do not throw it away. Now, it's very easy to get certain items on a budget. Cell phones, tablets, computers. Phones are usually the ones that most people don't know that we can actually utilize in this space. Phones of a lower end tend to give a lower video quality, but anything from the iPhone 8, yes, 8. What number are they at now? 276? From 8, you can have an amazing picture. The only thing is knowing the trick to get you to bling on a budget. Most people tend to keep their cell phone like this, and that does not work. Horizontal view is actually the best way to present yourself in a meeting or webinar. That's how you bling on a budget, mobile style. Now, when it comes to tablets, all ends of tablets will actually work. Can I let you in on a little secret? I have been a Zoom master on a Windows-based tablet. I ran an entire meeting using a tablet. Can you believe it? And it wasn't even a high-budget tablet. What was important was ensuring that it had the Windows component. Chromebooks and cell phones don't actually give you the range of possibilities on the Zoom platform that you actually get if you bling on a budget using, get this in your filter, Windows. Now, the other hurdle that we have to do if we're going budget, basement, thrifting, but we want to make sure that we bling, is our audio. I have a noisy background. Pay no attention to the 13-year-old at the back making noise. How do we fix that? Well, a microphone. Sometimes we can't really afford the big, expensive tech gear, and this is where I'm going to call on everybody here to pull in their resources. Now, I'm going to ask you to help us bling on a budget. If you have an item for lighting or a microphone that you got, and you get extra points if it was under $50, but I'll do 100, 200. Drop it in the chat, share the link, so that way we can all bling on a budget. Now, why is it important to make sure that you get your setup with your lighting, your aesthetics correct, but on a budget. Really simply put, the online space can be very, very intimidating. We believe we don't have the right things to do anything that we need to do. I mean, after all, if I didn't have my computer, how could I possibly join an online meeting? That will keep persons off of the space. And the internet giving trouble is quite enough of a hurdle to pass. So this is why together we're gonna work, we're gonna bling on a budget, and more importantly, we're gonna make sure that if it's not dead, we not dash it away. We get our setup right. We make sure that everything gets coordinated so that we can all look good online, even if we have to thrift. My fellow Toastmasters and our guests, just really keep in mind, I'm stunting and flossing, and that's a bargain. Why? 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 Simply put, it saves you money that you can use to pay your dues. It also will make sure that we save our earth, cut down on the natural resources that have been utilized or overutilized. I mean, after all, if we refurbish something that already exists, it saves our earth having to provide something else when we can just fix it and keep the extra change in our pocket. In closing, I'm going to go over the words of Macklemore as we remember how we're thrifting. I'm stunting. Happy, because that's a bargain. Back to you, our contest master.
Thank you, Joni. Thank you very much for that. And I'm going to pop some tags because I've only got $20 in my pocket. I'm hunting for a come up. This is awesome. I've dropped a word out of that because I remember the song and I got chipped for playing it, the uncensored version. Anyway, enough of that. Can we have an extra 60 seconds now for the judges to deliberate? That's 60 seconds. So now let's move on to contestant number 5, Jerry Aiyathurai. Clara, her friends, and you. Clara, her friends, and you, Jerry Aiyathurai.
Change is the only constant in our lives. After all, just this last year, didn't you have to confront some changes in your life? Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, guests, today I'd like to share with you and introduce you to 3 types of change, 2 strategies for navigating change, and the story of one remarkable woman, Clara. Let me start with the types of change. The first type of change I'd like to describe to you is the ocean of change. These are the large forces that could confront the earth in terms of weather, confront our societies, things that happen in technology, in government, in our various industries. In fact, the very fact that we're meeting online shows us that these big waves can change the way we do things. Have you felt the ocean of change? The second type of change I'd like to describe is what I call the seasons of change. This is just the phases of our lives. Some of us were little toddlers and needed help walking. Now we don't need help walking, but perhaps in our golden years, a walker might be a good thing again. Or it could be how we look in the mirror. You know, we're younger, we're looking for the pimple, and now we're looking for the wrinkle. Have you felt the seasons of change? The third type of change is what I call the lightning strike. This is the sudden change that you couldn't have predicted. Or it could be something not so good, like losing a job, but it could be something brilliant, like sitting across from somebody special and realizing you've just fallen in love with them and that they might be the person you want to spend your life with. Have you ever felt the lightning strike? Whether you're dealing with the change of the oceans, the change of the seasons, or the lightning strike, change can be challenging to us. And yet I learned from one remarkable woman 2 strategies that can help you navigate your changes. Who was that? As promised, it was Clara. Clara was an older colleague of mine. Due to changes in her company, her hours of work had been reduced. But then she was given this opportunity to lead a team, and I was asked to help her lead a team to resuscitate the company. Despite the uncertainty all around us, you could count on Clara. Every Friday morning, she would show up at the team room, having baked these amazing poppy seed muffins for breakfast. I call them amazing because they were so beautiful to look at. And when you bit into them, they were not so beautiful to eat. But Clara persevered through this time with 2 strategies that we all learned from her. The first was, in this uncertain time, was a strategy of saying yes. And when change comes, we can try to resist it, we can try to go along with it, or we can use it as a springboard to improve ourselves. And that's what Clara did. And it isn't always easy to do, because if you just say yes, but you feel unable to make the change, where do you stand? And that's where her second strategy came in, a strategy of saying yet. You see, she would say things like, well, I don't understand these databases. Yet, somebody better show me. And that little word yet opened up the possibility of growth. And we learned from her that yes and yet were these great strategies for confronting change. By the time the project ended, she had received a President's Award and her hours had gone back to a full-time job. And I remember the way she hugged me when I said goodbye at the end of the project, and she said, "Thank you. Thank you for pretending to like my muffins." But I had no idea that her strategy of yes and yet would matter as much as it did until somebody I really cared about fell sick. And I'd like to tell you about that story, face to face. This person received a diagnosis, and we weren't sure how much time she had. But while we were walking in that little valley where we don't know what the future is, and we can't talk about the future, but like Joni Mitchell said, you're talking in present tenses. We had yes and yet to help us. So we swore that no matter what happens, this would be our finest hour. We would approach it from our higher self. And we were going to forgive ourselves because we didn't know quite how to handle it yet. And so yes and yet have become my friends as they were Clara's. And nothing would give me greater pleasure than if they could become your friends too. Fellow Toastmasters, you may forget who I am. You might even forget Clara and her well-intentioned muffins. But I hope you remember yes and yet, who can be your trusted friends. Let them light your path. Let them lift your spirits. Let them lead your way. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Jerry. Thank you for that presentation of Clara and her friends. Once again, we'll take a minute now to allow the judges to deliberate. That's 1 minute. So time now for contestant number 6, Traca Savadogo, with the listening advantage. How feedback drives transformation. How feedback drives transformation. Traca Savadogo.
Hello, Toastmasters. How many of you have been to a meeting that was less than exciting, maybe a little bit boring? I joined Toastmasters and I have a club that I go to. I got invited to be the VPE role and share it with somebody. And I was, why is this boring? And why is it okay that it's boring? I'm not okay with that. So what did I do? I want to introduce you to a concept called the listening advantage. I wanted to hear from my fellow Toastmasters. What are you working on? How can I add fuel to your fire? What if our meetings were truly awesome and the next day you were still resonating in your head about what happened the night before and how you got so much value out of it that you could apply it the next day, like the next time you spoke? What if it was awesome? So I went out on a quest and I created a survey. I surveyed all of the members in my group and I sent my reminder emails asking people to please fill out the survey. And what I came up with, the response, my intention was to get to know my members, the members in my group, understand the skills and desires, and figure out where are their roadblocks. And more importantly, like, how can I add fuel to your fire? One of the conclusions that came up is we had a wide range of people with skills in our group. Over 50% of the members had been in Toastmasters for more than 6 years. 30%, a full 1/3, had been there for less than 6 months. So how do we meet their needs? The new people and the more seasoned people. Another question that I wanted to know, where are you at on your pathway and do you need any help? A full 35% of the people needed help.
You want to get attention using TikTok.
And so I went ahead and I reached out to each one of the people and I asked them, the other thing I wanted to know in my survey is, what are your 6-month stretch goals? Looking back 6 months from now, what would be amazing about your experience? And you can see by the responses, they ranged from The new people to the more seasoned people. The new people say, I want to come out of my comfort zone. I want to speak more often. I want to understand pathways and my goals. And I want to decide on a topic area of interest and my target audience. Other people wanted to add another DTM to their program and learn how to speak on video. So we were everybody in the group was running the gamut. How can I help? I reached out to 12 members directly, and I provided them some resources. I said, here's where you find this. I created custom videos to help them try and find their way around the website. And I offered a calendar link, and I said, hey, listen, if you want to schedule some time with me, let's get time on the calendar. I'd love to meet with you and see if I can remove some roadblocks for you. 6 people responded and put time on my calendar. What happened was astonishing. We had super quick wins. There was one person, he scheduled every single speech and every single role between now and the end of the year. Another person decided she was going to schedule her very first icebreaker. I learned of the aspirational goals for one of the team members, and she signed up for an executive leadership program. And another member decided, I'm going to be a Udemy expert. I'm going to understand this tool so well that I'll be able to teach it to everybody. Quick wins were really exciting. But they blew my mind. What I was realizing is that there's a gift in these one-on-one meetings. What was happening here? I couldn't understand like the rapid pace that things were going. And so I did some research, and the Harvard Business Review had some findings for me on the gift of one-on-one meetings. The impact of one-on-one meetings: higher satisfaction, higher engagement. It helps build psychological safety and trust within the group, and it helps create a stronger team cohesion. That's all good. And I love that so much. What else? Teams that feel emotionally connected are more collaborative, resilient, and aligned. Oh man, this dream I had of having a really great Toastmaster group is starting to come together. Members started to feel heard and valued. They felt that their contributions mattered, and we leaned into gratitude, motivation. What are your goals? I want to help get you there. How can I help? Where are you stuck? And increased confidence. In fact, one of our members, I learned he got stuck on one pathway assignment, and he quit pathways for a year because he didn't understand the assignment. I was like, dude, we can remove that roadblock. Let me help you. It also reinforces belonging and starts removing this idea of like loneliness in the group. We meet every week, but how well do we know each other? So I encouraged other people in my group to start having one-on-one meetings with each other. How do we create a cohesive group of people who are supporting each other in a meaningful way? And I love this. It boosts morale and engagement. And suddenly people were seeing all kinds of new possibilities. And so I want to talk about the listening advantage. How can you apply the listening advantage in your club, in your community? Thank you so much. Back to you.
Thank you, Traca. Thank you for the listening advantage. We'll now have 1 more minute for the judges to do their deliberations, and then I'll throw them all off, or at least get David to throw them all off into a separate room. So another minute just to let them take their last set of notes. I think that's a minute. Quick question. Are there any judges still left in the room? Or have you all gone off to David? David's back. David's gone. No, David is back. Have all the judges left, David, or are you still dragging them away?
I think I misplaced somebody.
Who'd you misplace?
Let's see. No, okay. I think they're all in there, but I'm not. So let me
They're
go
not.
back.
Yep. All right.
Goodbye.
I'll leave you to go and do your
Realize it now.
deliberations, Mr. Chief Judge.
Yeah.
And once he's gone. Okay, yeah, I'd invite everybody to please unmute and let's give a thunderous round of applause for all 6 of our contestants here this evening. Those were excellent presentations, and I don't use that word often, but I genuinely think that there were some
Well done,
excellent
everyone. Well done.
Bravo.
Yes, well done, everybody. Now's the time where, you know how there's always the, so tell us about your club, tell us about your hobbies, tell us about your, I'm going to do that because I've got to do that because I've got to fill the time somehow. And I'm going to start with Kay. So Kay, one of your hobbies is obviously walking. I could tell you were doing that because you were doing it on the treadmill before we began. But no, seriously, tell us a bit about your Toastmasters background, for example. Just 60 seconds or if not your Toastmasters background, your coaching background. Choice is yours.
So I became trained as an ontological coach in 1993. And ontology is the division of philosophy that focuses on the creation of identity, development of relationships, and coordinating action. And I have interpreted that within the world of business. Now I'm actually using it as a coach. Before I just used it as a consultant.
Cool. Ontological coaching, I must admit, not a branch of coaching with which I'm familiar, but obviously working for you. And I got to say, yeah, when I think of TikTok, I think of tweens and early teens doing Sephora runs and dances, but obviously there is much more to TikTok that us old boring types could take some note of.
Nobody's more surprised than I am.
Then again, I have enough trouble dealing with all other forms of social media. I do have a TikTok account, and I have a LinkedIn account, and I have a Instagram, and I don't have a WeChat or a Telegram or a Truth Social, but maybe no, Truth Social is going to die shortly anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Okay, listen, thanks very much for your presentation. If anybody has any questions for Kay, please put them in the chat. And don't forget, Kay did invite you to send her a message if you're interested in that 20-minute presentation on. So that's an opportunity you should take. Thank you very much for joining us, Kay. Our second contestant tonight was John Lau with My Olympics. John, thank you very much for that presentation. And it was an interesting, I was expecting it to be about sports, but obviously much more important things on your mind. Tell us a little about the John Lau story, if you would.
Well, John Lau always like to reach out to the community to help one another. For example, during the movement control order period, there were a lot of people running out of food. And I was the one who went into the departmental store, purchased the food. Together with my community policing friends, we deliver food to every household.
Excellent.
Because we learned the effective communication skill in Toastmaster, I thought we need to put to good use to love your neighbor. Love thy neighbor is one of my religious beliefs as one of the 10 commandments in the Bible. And also love thy neighbor has also been used by the Supreme Court in United Kingdom when we need to take care of our friends, our neighbor, to make this world a better place. If, for example, Russia and Ukraine, they have love time never, they will never go into war.
John, you mentioned getting the award that was presented to you by the king. That must have been
Yes.
a highlight.
Yes, indeed. To me, that was my Olympic.
Well, we congratulate you on that, but we also thank you for your service to the community, because
Thank you.
service is something that we can all share in, and I thank you for your contribution today. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Our third contestant was Chandra Yusuf. Face it, feel it, and go on living with it. Fear. It's something I guess we all have to face. Yusuf, you mentioned going to that first Toastmasters meeting, standing in the back and not wanting to say anything. Obviously, you got over those fears. How much of it was the applause of your fellow Toastmasters?
Well, actually, at that time, I just visited one of my friends, a lecturer in university, and she invited me to join the club. That's why I thought, what kind of club is this? Clapping hands club. Everybody is clapping hands, whether good or not, whether you speak or not, they clap their hands. And I was wondering, so I asked my friend, why? Why do they clap their hands? And I didn't do anything. From that moment, she told me, if you want to change yourself, join us. You will see what the result is. And the Toastmasters Club did change me from zero to hero. I even went to the district contest and I met Datuk John Lau, and he gave me all of the lesson how to win the contest. I win a lot of friends in Toastmasters. Thank you, John. Back to you.
Thank you, Yusuf. And thank you very much for your contributions, not just in Toastmasters, but here today and taking part in this contest. So I thank you for that. Joni-Renee Laidlaw was our fourth contestant, she of the Macklemore fans. Joni, what's your biggest win in terms of bling on a budget?
Being able to do it, to be completely honest. Sometimes the cost factor, and it's one of the things, Toastmasters is a cup of coffee. Some things we don't do because there is a paywall that we can't get over. But the beauty of that is, as I was trying to explain to my son, for those who played video games before, when you couldn't pay for it, you had the cheat codes up, up, down, down, back, back, forward, aha. So learning how to bling on a budget allows you to do it. It's just a little life cheat code that we can share and make each other great.
Cool. The thing that I loved was you put up a slide there which showed a setup that you could do for under $50. That, I mean, it's still $50, but that's certainly a much lesser barrier to online membership than many people face. So I thank you for that. Is there, do you use that philosophy in other parts of your life?
All of life. Necessity is the mother of invention. Call me mommy. So I mentioned my son so much. That's the thing. I like the speech about yes and yet. I haven't figured it out yet, but yes, I'll get there. Because whenever there's an obstacle, there's always a way around, over, under, or through it. Sometimes it just takes some creativity.
Cool. Cool. Well, thank you for inspiring us and reminding us that what's the phrase that you used in Jamaican?
When a dead, no dash way. What's
When a
not
dead, no
dead,
dash way.
when a dead, no dash way. What's not dead, don't throw it away.
Yeah, well, we all think in terms of recycling. Perhaps we should look first in terms of repair and reuse before we recycle and then buy new. I sometimes think it's easier just to go and buy new, but then I think about how much damage I'm doing to the planet by doing that. So thank you for the reminder today. Our fifth contestant today was Jerry Aiyathurai, and I think I've got that right this time. I'm sorry if I got it wrong as I introduced you before, Jerry. Clara, her friends, and you. This was actually genuinely inspiring, and I thank you for this, Jerry. You spoke about Clara. I hope that Clara wasn't the friend that you were telling us about at the end as well. But then again, I hope that none of us ever have to face that circumstance, but many of us do. Tell us about the Toastmaster, Jerry, first, before we get to your message.
Well, I'm a Toastmaster because my father-in-law was very motivated by it. He was a serious Toastmaster. I think he was an area governor or something. And in order to keep the peace with my in-laws, I went to a Toastmaster meeting. And like Chandra, I made the mistake of saying yes to table topics. There was a guy with a bell there, and every time I said, he would hit the bell. And I had steam coming out of my ears when I left the meeting, but then this older gentleman called Joni-Renee called me that night. He was the club president, and he said, "That was so brave of you." And he tried to persuade me to come back and do another table topic. And I told him, I remember the words, I said, "Joe, I'll come back, but I want to be the guy with the bell." I've been here ever since. It was 2003, so it's about 21 years.
21 years. That happens. I have to say, most clubs that I have belonged to don't use the bell, and I'm glad about that because, I would find it intrusive. But I also did some research on this once, and I actually wrote a blog post about it. The bell works. I hate to say it, but it works. So you've been a Toastmaster for more than 20 years. Is there a highlight for you in your membership? Something that you look at and say, this is why I keep coming back?
It's really hard to point out one, but there's a series of these. I'm now mentoring this young chap called Manny. He's in his mid-20s. He's just about finishing up school, about to go full-time into work. He gave a Toastmaster speech. I gave an evaluation. He ran over. He had 10 points, then he shortened it to 5 points. He ended up delivering 4. So I gave him some tips on, he's also my mentee, so we could have coffee, We talked afterwards because he had obviously wanted to do 10 and then he'd done 4. And I gave him some tips on, time management, speaking rate and all that stuff. You guys know all this. So he went and used that for something he's doing at school where he might get a option of being a TV presenter for the university TV station. And he said, "I used your tip, man." And I was like, "It's not my tip. I got it from somebody else." But that's just stuff like that is great.
Yep. Yeah. That light bulb moment, I love to see it with newer members when you make a suggestion, which you've quite frankly cadged from somebody else in the first place, and you pass it on and suddenly it takes on a life of its own. Well, Jerry, thank you once again for your presentation today. I was inspired and I thoroughly enjoyed as well as was inspired by it.
Thank you.
Our sixth contestant today was Traca Savadogo. Now, Traca, I know I called you Tracy, and I'm sorry about that. I know better. I wasn't listening. No, I was listening. Seriously, Tracy, you're a member of this club. You and Joni are both members of Online Presenters. Tell me about your other Toastmasters clubs, because I know you're in more than one.
I am in 8 Toastmaster clubs. And the reason for that was that I did a TEDx talk and I would get invited to speak, and I was still a very nervous speaker. And then I joined a club, and if I gave a speech twice a month, they frowned on that, saying I was speaking too much. And so I realized that in order for me to get better, I needed to be more consistent and to expand my skill set. And so I joined clubs so that I speak every single day of the week. And I've been doing that for the past 4 or 5 months, and it's had a huge difference for me. So it's just been really, really rewarding in that respect.
Excellent, excellent. I have been a member of a maximum of 8. I'm currently at 6, dropping that down to 3, but that's only for financial reasons, not because I don't want to speak. But having done all 11 paths, I sometimes feel like I'm taking up space. But taking up space is one thing, but how do you come up with new ideas for every presentation? Or do you rework your existing presentations for different clubs?
Graham Kay is a really good friend of mine, and she would tell you that if you knew me better, you would just be overloaded with the amount of like articles, things I read, like things I share. And what I find is that my learning style, I'm better if I teach what I know or have an opportunity to talk about what I just read. And so the opportunity is for me to read something that I really enjoyed, that would be shareable and worth sharing with the group, and then I turn it into a speech. So for example, one of the clubs that I visit that I'll be joining next term, they do a book that they'll do a speech on, and then table topics are all surrounded by that book. And and so there's a presenter that will focus on the book, and I love that. And so what I'm really focused on right now is how to provide speeches that have more meat on the bones and something really tangible that you can take away with and either apply or use, or something that'll spark an idea, more like both storytelling and meat on the bones.
Cool. Well, Traca, we're waiting for the judges to come back. Let's go and see if they have returned into the room. And audience, can we all again, please give a round of applause to all 6 of our brave contestants today. Well done, everyone.
And the answer is yes, we have some results.
We have some results. So in that case...
Woo! All right.
David.
So this is the recognition and the winners portion of the program. This has been an action-packed event. I hope those of you who are keeping score at home and trying to mark off your ballot realize how difficult it was to score between all these great speakers. But ultimately, we'll have to come up with some winners. Now, I'm going to ask Graham. Graham was in charge of learning how to pronounce people's names correctly, so I'm going to ask him for some help as we go through. But I'm just going to go through the speakers in the order in which they were presented. And thank you to Kay Allison. I think I can get that one right.
Yep.
Thank you for the competitors. If you want a copy of this as a certificate of participation, we can send that out to you afterwards. But thank you for competing, Kay. Thank you for competing, John Lau. Thank you for competing. Graham, help me out here.
Chandra Yusuf.
Okay. Thank you for competing, Joni-Renee Laidlaw.
Yay.
Thank you for competing, Jerry and Graham. What was it?
Aiyathurai.
All right. He's at least closer than I am, even if it's not perfect. We're trying. And thank you to Traca Savadogo. And I'm not sure I get that last name right yet either, even though I've had many opportunities. We do also acknowledge in this contest, we're not keeping them anonymous, our judges. So thank you very much to Cindy Beckles, Lillian Cook, Tricia Jervis, and Paolo Barone for helping to judge this contest. So now we get down to the thick of things. Drum roll, please. Here comes third place. Third place is Jerry. Thank you, Jerry. Thank you for being part of this. And by the way, all the judges were from outside of this club to try and minimize or eliminate bias. Our second place winner, Kay Allison. And third place. Oh, first place. Sorry. And I did put them in the wrong order initially. First place winner, Joni-Renee Laidlaw. Woohoo! All right. And let's see, what else did I want to cover here? That's about it, except for a group photo. If we can try and get the 3 speakers spotlighted, I will end my screen share and let's try and get a snapshot. And let's see. Okay. All right, we'll capture. Let's see, all right, we're getting, I guess, all the speakers here for a group photo, but that's a good thing. Let's see, who are we missing? All right. Round of applause for all of our speakers. And I don't know why I'm in the picture. I shouldn't be in the picture. Let me take myself out of the picture because I didn't do anything. I was just here. Okay. Thank you, everybody, for competing this evening and for making it a great contest. And actually, I'm going to remove the spotlight and just have our 3 winners here for a moment. Smile for the camera. We may have to do some editing later on to shuffle you all around, but thank you very much for being a part of this evening. And we are kind of celebrating the fact that this is not an official contest and we don't have to follow the rules. And so one advantage of that is we can actually ask our judges if they would like to give a little bit of verbal feedback to the speakers. So just any comments that you'd like to make. Let me just ask our judges first. If raise your hand, unmute. Anything you'd like to share with the speakers?
Hi, David.
Yeah, go ahead.
David and contestants, thank you so much for this. I do appreciate a great presentation online. I have to give them all the time. I have to watch them all the time at work. And so sometimes it's good to, be able to watch something that is educational and informative outside of your normal getting paid to learn this information type deal. So I appreciate all of the contestants and look forward to our next online presenters. Thank you.
Okay, cool.
David, it's Lillian. I've got a couple of comments, if you don't mind.
Please.
Once again, I agree. It was a tough contest. Thank you all for participating, for getting out there and showing us what you've got. I enjoyed all of the speeches. And Kay, I just wanted to give you a little feedback. I love how you taught us how to do a TikTok video. I took notes, so the next time I do a video, I can use a few of those tips. However, one thing I want you to caution you about, when you first started speaking, your screen was moving. So see if you can stabilize your screen a little bit more, not your phone, but your laptop. But fantastic speech. I got lots of notes.
All right. Well, I mean, I had one is that even though you have the license to use all sorts of techie techniques, I appreciated the way that Kay did it by just turning a little bit away from the camera and speaking to the phone and demonstrating that way. And also Jerry used a technique that I like a lot, which is do some of the presentation in SlideShare mode if you have visuals to share, but then drop it. When you get to the end of this, what you want to share visually, and you just want to talk to the people face to face, your face can be the most powerful special effect of all. And of course, Joni did her did her razzle dazzle, but she did it very proficiently, and I think that made a great impression. But other than that, we're past the time that this was all supposed to be over.
Could I
I'm
give
sorry?
a tip to Kay? I have one tip for Kay. From me. Loved your speech. Definitely checking out the YouTube. My only issue with the entire speech was you lost the eye contact when you were recording. And because you had so much space, you could actually just hold the phone in front of you and turn. So I'd still see you looking at me, but I felt left out when you started making the video. Or, and this is the trick that I use, join the account with your second device. That way, when you turn to the side, we can actually put both of you, the way you saw two of me, we can spotlight both of you. So we can actually see you doing it and stopping, and seeing you doing it and stopping. And Jim Barber, by the way, has an app that allows you to do that. So Jim is a good person to reach out. He can give you the tech tip on how to get that done.
Cool.
I had a few comments. Cindy Beckles.
Please.
All right. I want to thank all of you tonight. These speeches were very informative. I love the fact that there were such diverse topics. What came through for all of you, you were very passionate. And sometimes that's lost on webinars, so you all did very well. I felt maybe some of you could have given more step-by-step. It's like a webinar. How do you do this? More the how-to. And then just one tip, and I hate to say, again, Kay, the TikTok, phenomenal idea. I just thought perhaps if you had it and then you froze it along the way and showed us that way, because when you were doing it, I couldn't take it in as much because I would have gotten a lot more. It's already done, and you stop us at each frame and make the same point, because a lot of us need to join TikTok like yesterday. It's like yesterday. So overall, you all did well, and I think what made the difference, there is that category for engagement. Remember that. Could be something in the chat. It doesn't matter. Remember that, because I think that made a huge difference. But either way, phenomenal topics, phenomenal participation. You inspired all of us to do something tonight. So thank you all so much for everything.
One observation I'll share is sometimes when people give you feedback on your speech, and this happens a lot when you start winning and you're going to up extra levels of contests, is you get lots of advice, and you still have to synthesize it and figure out what's good advice and what fits in with your style. So keep that in mind too when you're trying to figure these things out. So I think the formal meeting is over. We can end the recording. We did remember to record